With the much anticipated 5th season coming to a close as of recently, I think it's fit to talk about one of my favourite TV shows of all time, Better Call Saul. Starting off as nothing more than a spin-off prequel of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul has exceeded the expectations of the general audience and has received a mass amount of approval in its 5-year runtime. It stars Jimmy McGill, previous conman and current lawyer, as he tries his best to leave his shady past behind him and rack in clients. In this piece, I'll be skipping over many details of the show that I think you should watch yourself, as the show's 5 seasons are all on Netflix for you to enjoy during lockdown. However, this video will contain some major spoilers for many seasons of Better Call Saul that I advise you not watch if you're planning on starting the show. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this piece is specifically centered around determining the event that is the tipping point, changing Jimmy McGill, shown in Better Call Saul, into the more scummy Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad. Which specific moments in the show was the push over the edge, or the last straw per se? Obviously, I'm not a writer on the show, and don't know the exact details planned for concluding Jimmy's character arc, so this is pure speculation. Speculation that I can back up with evidence from events from the show. You'll see what I mean by that in a bit. So, in the show, some major events transpire in Jimmy's life that change him little by little. When these events occur, it makes the titular and down-on-his-luck McGill into the more cold and calculating Goodman. There are 2 events in question that push Jimmy more and more into becoming Saul, the first being in the season 1 finale, Marco.
Can you keep a secret? Because I really shouldn't be telling you this.
At the end of this episode, Jimmy witnesses his old friend suffer from a heart attack in the midst of pulling off a scam.
This was the greatest week of my life.
Hey, hang in there, hey!
As a result of this, Jimmy wears the ring that Marco left him and starts to not care about being admirable and good-natured, as proved by this scene.
Did I have $1,600,000 on my desk in cash? When I close my eyes, I can still see it burned into my retinas like I was staring into the sun. No one on God's green earth knew we had it. We could have split it 50-50. We could have gone home with $800,000 each, tax-free.
Your point being?
Why didn't we? What stopped us?
I remember you saying something about doing the right thing.
I don't even know what that means. I know what stopped me. And you know what? It's never stopping me again.
In this scene, Jimmy exclaims to Mike that the only reason why he didn't steal money was because of his good nature and moral conscience. The context isn't important to where the money came from, only that Jimmy did the right thing, as Mike says. In response to this, Jimmy says that it's never stopping him again. He then drives off, humming Smoke on the Water, his conman friend Marco's favourite song. This final scene in the season 1 episode shows Jimmy's gradual descent into Saul, as he's bored of being the good guy and wants to branch out into more risky territory, not letting his moral compass hold him back from pursuing success. The second instance I want to talk about has a lot of context, so bear with me. Following the events of his brother, Chuck, killing himself, Jimmy flickers between caring and not caring, as Chuck was never particularly nice to Jimmy at all.
Hey. I don't want to hurt your feelings. But the truth is, you've never mattered all that much to me.
Anyway, following his death, Chuck leaves Jimmy a letter addressing their relationship and Chuck's filtered feelings about Jimmy to make himself sound like the loving brother that he never was. As Chuck was a valued and respected lawyer, Jimmy sees it fit to read the letter out in order to reclaim his position in law after a year-long suspension from his profession. This is what follows.
I knew you had it in
so
you.
great.
I mean, yes, they have to reinstate you. Right? They just
Yeah,
have
did you
to.
see those suckers? That one asshole was crying. He had actual tears. Jesus, Kim.
This moment is amazing at showing just how far gone Jimmy really is from the man he used to be, creeping more and more into what he's going to become, Saul. The look on Kim's face is so relatable to the audience because we were also the suckers as well as her. We thought that Jimmy was being genuine about Chuck and crying out of mourning. Instead, they were crocodile tears. When Jimmy is being accepted back into becoming a lawyer, he decides that it's best to break away from the large law firm that uses his last name by changing his. While walking away from Kim, he says this.
Wait, Jimmy, what?
It's all good, man.
And this changing of his name, both figuratively and literally, shows the transition from McGill to Goodman. Jimmy literally manipulated his way into becoming a lawyer again, and wants nothing to do with his brother or the law firm he was a partner to, despite using his death as a crutch to get back in. This lack of empathy shows that Jimmy is slowly acquiring Saul tendencies and is losing all of his morals. But this isn't where the show ends. This isn't even where Jimmy's transformation into Saul ends, despite the obvious name change. So you might be asking yourself why I even made this video in the first place. What could possibly be the big event that introduces Saul Goodman when the show hasn't even concluded yet? Well, this is where the speculation part of the video comes in. If you look back on the two events I mentioned that changed Jimmy, they both have to do with deaths, specifically the deaths of the people closest to Jimmy. First Marco and then Chuck. These two people were close to Jimmy, but both in majorly different ways. Marco was Jimmy's old conman buddy, who didn't want him to become a lawyer and had genuine love for Jimmy as a best friend, whereas Chuck wants Jimmy to have a more respectable profession and to get out of his conman lifestyle. These two characters are the polar opposites of one another, and both mean a lot to Jimmy, so when they pass, it changes him. And in the case of how Saul Goodman ends up, for the worse. So, if we're saying that the only times that Jimmy has majorly changed into Saul is when someone close to him has passed away, what's next? Or more fittingly, who's next? Personally, I think as the final push in season 6, Kim Wexler has to die. Kim is Jimmy's significant other, and they are shown to have a complicated relationship throughout the show, eventually blooming into them getting married and living together. So, what makes Kim so special in the grand scheme of things? Well, her characterization in the show is a sort of blend between Marco and Chuck. As well as being a well-respected lawyer and stickler for the law, she also occasionally helps Jimmy out with his schemes and scams. She means a lot to Jimmy, more than anyone ever has, and this is why I say that she's going to be killed off and change Jimmy more than he's ever been changed before. I don't know how, and I don't know when, but this is my prediction for season 6 of Better Call Saul, and that Kim has to die in order for the Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad to take over. Furthermore, Kim is nowhere to be seen in Breaking Bad, supporting my theory that something may happen to her in the climax of the series. Like I said earlier in the video, this is all speculation, and I don't know how plausible this theory will be when the actual 6th season comes out. I may be completely proved wrong, but hey, here's a bit of guessing to tie you over until that 6th season does finally drop. Guessing alluding to the death of Kim Wexler being the final straw for Saul Goodman.
Long Island iced teas, but your buddy's worse off when he throws you his car keys. Blue lights are blinking 4 o'clock in the morning. St. Trooper makes you wish that you'd never been born. Better call Saul. Better call Saul. You want to tell the world you're in love with a girl named Fran? So you find an overpass and you say it with a spray paint can. Blue lights start blinking, those handcuffs click. You know who to call and you better call quick. Saul, Saul, you better call Saul. He'll fight for your rights when your back's to the wall. Stick it to the man, justice for all.